Hello and good afternoon, everybody. This is Dr. Ken Muich, Fibromyalgia Wellness Center, Stetson Chiropractic Clinic, and hope everybody enjoyed a wonderful weekend. We're going to be talking again about something that is expanding even worse than expected, and that's the post-COVID-19 long haulers conditions and symptoms that just seem to be lingering on with people. It's worse than expected, and a lot of patients can't get over it. It just lingers on and on and on. Most long haulers are young. They're not old, as many people expect. And the post-COVID conditions just are getting worse and worse as we go along here. I'll explain to you. Again, worse symptoms than expected. It's difficult to get rid of if you can at this point. And that's what science and researchers are saying. Some people can't. They just can't recover. It leads to frustration and exhaustion. Those with continued symptoms don't always test positive, believe it or not. They turn out negative, and that adversely affects them in many ways, especially with doctors and insurance. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. Children are not immune to COVID symptoms. Let's get that straight. After you've had a bout with COVID-19, for many it might take anywhere from 8 to 12 weeks of continued ongoing symptoms. It might not be COVID-19 symptoms, but there are a wide and variety form of symptoms, such as scarred lungs, chronic heart disease, severe headaches, kidney failure, bulging veins that might lead to stroke, hand tremors, debilitating fatigue, fever, nausea, stomach problems, hair loss, alopecia. A movie star by the name of Alicia Milano has reported that she's losing clumps of hair, which is, again, not uncommon. Blurred vision, sensitivity to light and sound, loss of taste and smell, short-term memory loss, brain fog, shortness of breath. More than 100 symptoms. They had a research study on this as far as symptoms post-COVID-19 that are involved with long haulers. Long haulers being, again, the term used in this case of people that have continuing ongoing symptoms after a COVID-19 virus attack. If you listen to the symptoms, many of them that I mentioned, many of them are actually fibromyalgia symptoms. And although no one has really checked on this, I'm just wondering if many of these patients actually have fibromyalgia that's been triggered. Keep in mind, fibromyalgia is triggered by some physical, emotional, or chemical trauma. Okay, and COVID-19 is definitely a physical trauma, that's for sure. There's something called multi-system inflammatory syndrome, MIS-C, and this does study people who have multiple symptoms and maybe multiple conditions from which they really don't have an answer. And so MIS-C is looking into this in a much wider spectrum. They haven't mentioned the term fibromyalgia again, and yet so many of these things are involved with fibromyalgia. Plus the fact that they're telling patients, you're not imagining these symptoms. What does that sound like? It's not all in your head. Again, this is a fibro relationship, so to speak. The CDC says that at least 35% of all people that have had COVID-19 actually have ongoing symptoms. It's that myth about young don't get sick, it's a myth, believe it or not. You hear these people who are still questioning, deniers who are questioning after 200,000 deaths that this COVID-19 is a fallacy. Well, believe me when I say, based upon all the information I'm receiving in the records, and now these long haulers that are having people with symptoms that seem to last longer and longer. But anyway, it says that some researchers have said that now when Americans' risky behavior puts them and others at risk of the virus, healthy experts say it's only fair to consider that this virus thing may move in and not really leave. And I just read also in one of the medical reports how it has changed again. It has mutated into something else that is more easily picked up but not any more virulent. Also, I saw that Europe is going through another season of attacks of this virus itself. Elisa Milano was, I think, the individual that I was talking about as far as hair loss is concerned. So there's a wide variety of severity in these long haulers as far as that's concerned. Many of them are unable to work because of the ongoing symptoms, and many of them that I mentioned out of the 100 plus that actually the patients have. Doesn't help when, and I'm sorry politically, but it doesn't help when the White House says that this virus is totally harmless in 99% of the cases. Well, experts again have shown that this is not true because a much greater number of people are having lingering, ongoing symptoms from the COVID-19 itself. And so when you hear something like this, it affects the people, it affects the doctors. The doctors start questioning where all these additional symptoms are coming from, especially when they do the COVID-19 test and they find out it's negative. It's not a positive test. And so where are you getting all these from? So doctors are questioning these secondary symptoms and conditions, and it affects insurance companies. They start questioning as to whether or not you are really sick and whether or not they should cover you for these symptoms, especially work comp. More and more people are losing their jobs because of the long haulers, COVID-19 post long haulers. And what happens is they lose their job, they go for a work comp, or they put in, and work comp is saying, well, the doctors can't find any reason why you're having these things. Well, it's the reason why is because research is behind. Research hasn't even figured out why these people are having all of these additional symptoms that come up post-COVID-19. There's no reason. There's no rhyme or reason. There's no data yet about long-term effects of fibromyalgia other than functional capacity of lungs is adversely affected with those people that have, along with, as I mentioned, the scarring of the lungs itself. Children and adults recovering from this oftentimes have neurological issues. They have loss of strength, anxiety, depression, psychological distress, and now they're also looking at people, including children, have PTSD from this as part of the long haulers because the symptoms are not going away. They're lingering. More and more research is being held, trying to find out the reasons why. There's no answers as of yet, other than the fact that, as in fibromyalgia, it's not all in your mind. You're not dreaming this up. This is real. And again, research is working very, very hard to try to find answers for you. Maybe some of the patients have mentioned, maybe we survive, but we aren't really living. And again, this sounds like fibromyalgia, doesn't it? I mean, all of a sudden you get hit with this and you're not able to function. You have fibrofog, you have fatigue, you have all these other aches and pains throughout your body. This is long haulers in effect. And they're trying to put an answer or something to this. Hi, everybody. Hi, Nancy. Wear a mask and stay safe. Exactly. And so for the same thing, they're saying continue wearing a mask, wash your hands, watch how close you get to people and so forth and so on to make sure you stay healthy. We are not able to do the things we were able to do before we got this. Again, that's a fibromyalgia thing. I'm not saying all these people have fibromyalgia because a lot of the symptoms that they're having are not directly related to any of the symptoms that fibromyalgia patients have complained of. Although all body systems, if you recall that we've covered over and over again, everything from neurological to dermatological affect fibromyalgia patients. So I've put out word to ask some of the experts as far as those other people that are working with fibromyalgia patients like myself as to find out whether or not they have any answers concerning this also. It certainly appears to be, for many people that don't, that did never have fibromyalgia, let's put it that way, that now have fibromyalgia or have these symptoms, that it may be fibromyalgia related. It may be actually this long hauler. Some of these things are actually triggering fibromyalgia. Keep in mind, all of our research shows that it is something that is genetic, and a genetic abnormality that is triggered by, again, some physical, emotional, or chemical trauma. Okay. And so all of these symptoms that are coming out, especially is sensitivity to light and sound, and fatigue, and fibro fog, and a loss of taste and smell, and all these other things we're talking about. There's so many of them that actually directly point to fibromyalgia. So we're hoping that this is not it. But right now, no one seems to have an answer why this is occurring, other than the fact that, again, that the COVID-19 actually attaches onto certain areas of cells, and whichever cells those are, if it's for the liver, if it's for the lungs, for the brain, that's another area of the COVID-19 long haulers. Brain aspect is affected, where memory is affected. We're not talking Alzheimer's, but it could actually affect early Alzheimer's in itself. So we have some problems that have shown up with this COVID-19 that have taken, like I say, in the United States, over 200,000 lives. I think they're nearing 1 million throughout the world, and people are still getting sick from COVID-19. I was totally against sports, especially those that are direct contact with each other. Hey, I played sports. I played baseball, football, basketball. I played football for at least 10 years, maybe longer, and so I love sports. I really do. But you can't stay 6 feet away. I mean, you can't wear a mask. You're not going to be washing hands between every play. And these people are touching each other, and they're breathing at each other, maybe coughing and sneezing and so forth. Then they go home to their family and friends. How close is that to keeping things healthy and free? So all it takes is maybe one person to break down and say, to heck with it. I'm going to go out and party and have a good time. They bring it back to the team, and then everybody's affected. That already happened to a number of people in baseball, where they tested positive. You know, it's interesting. I've mentioned this before, where, again, in sports, where down south, they have to have their football. And they say they're being tested. Well, I'm not just pointing to the SEC or the South. I'm talking about sports in general. How many of those test results are really being found and being followed up on? You know, if they have a star player that gets sick, maybe he needs to play one more game just to make sure, you know, that they win that game. So there's that money coming in. I'm just very frustrated with our society in allowing certain things to occur when we have a pandemic which is worldwide, not just in the United States, not just in Europe. And so I'm very, very frustrated over the complications of the economy versus the health of people, and maybe the death. And now we're looking at, like some people say, anywhere from 35 to 75% of the people post-COVID have ongoing symptoms, and they don't know, number one, what to do with them. Number two, they don't know how long they're going to last. Some of these people may have, like I say, scarred lungs, they're thinking, forever, or abnormal heart arrhythmias. And again, in high school football, instead of holding off, and again, am I preaching incorrectly? This is all medical. The colleges know exactly what people they're going to pick when they're seniors. They really didn't need to play this year, to be honest with you. They knew exactly. If you wait 1 year, it's not going to affect your request to play, or they're picking you to play for a big time team. They know who the people are already. They've had their scouts out looking at you for years. So you're not going to lose a year. You could lose a life, though, or a lifetime, if you have heart arrhythmias that are adversely affected because you played this year and somebody made a mistake. Whoops, and didn't follow the rules. So long haulers is one of the reasons, one of the residual leftovers from all of the things that are happening in our world today, especially with COVID-19, that was not aggressively taken care of at the beginning. And so many people are suffering. And oftentimes I believe they really didn't need to. So bless everybody. Hope everybody stays safe. Watch what you're doing. Again, the mask. Oh, this is another thing that just happened. So our county in Arizona, Maricopa County, says wear masks. The mayor of Scottsdale says you don't have to wear masks. I don't have an answer other than the fact that until this is totally cleared up properly, like the experts say, this might be here forever in one form or another. It has already mutated into another COVID virus, and it's just as bad and easier to catch. Blessings and health to each and every one of you. Thank you very, very much for joining us. We're going to have another talk next week at 12:45 p.m. Arizona time, a live video presentation about fibromyalgia and other health-related subjects. Might not be fibromyalgia at all. It might be something that's very, very pertinent that shows up that I've seen that comes across that I think many people need to know about. So that's why we're doing it this way. Best wishes to everyone in health and happiness. I hope you have a wonderful week. Tell your family, friends, your doctors, everybody that might be interested in getting up-to-date information, research valid, on health subjects. Thank you very, very much. Have a great week again. Blessing to everybody and stay safe. Bye-bye now.